We're going to deal with sawing, and we're doing this, combining a couple of sessions because of time element today, but we're going to be looking at jigsaws, and then we're going to be looking at recip saws. Actually, they're the same basic tool, it's just one's the granddaddy of the other, and it's bigger, does rougher job, and gets into tighter places. Jigsaws come in all kinds of formats. Go back to the slideshow. Your standard D handle is what you're going to be using today. The inline is not used very much anymore. It's hard to find. But it was a great little jigsaw that meant I could take all my jigsaw blades and point straight in at something. I didn't have the saw in my way. But now the recip saws, which started out really big, and they've come down to different sizes. They have small recip saws now that do the job that this inline jigsaw did. And so that's basically nobody but Makita is making it anymore. This is a barrel saw, which is exactly the same mechanism as your D handle. It's just in a different shape and with a couple of little twitches different. There's no trigger on it. You have to do it by mind to get it to start up, you see. You sort of... So it's the next generation. It took me 10 minutes before I looked at the manual to find out there is no trigger on it. You pull two things up to make it go. So, jigsaws, basically what they do is they go up and down. They also, if you look at your saws, now grab your saw and take a look at it, you'll notice that there's a dial on the side. And the dial is about the aggressivity of the saw cut. What that means is normally a jigsaw goes up and down like this. But if you turn that dial, it comes back, goes down, so there's no friction, jumps forward and comes up. Comes back, goes down, jumps forward and comes up. So it's only friction on the upstroke as you're coming in. And so the more aggressive you make that, the faster it cuts. But the more aggressive you make it, the rougher the cut is. Okay, so there's always a balance between nice cut or a fast cut. Then the other thing you have is there's always some way or another, whether it's with a tool or without a tool, to change the shoe so that the shoe goes over to 45 degrees one side, 45 degrees the other side. Now that one, we're not going to be playing with that today, but you have a little lever underneath the D handle that loosens up the shoe so you can shift the shoe around. Okay? Now the important part here is you want to be careful about playing with the blade. Well, we used to say unplug the cord before you play with the blade. Here you have at least a lock on that you can push a button that locks it, so if you pull the trigger, nothing happens. And it's a good idea to lock it before you change blades, and that way you know that you don't have it coming up to grab you. Now, I put a blade in there for you. We'll be changing as we're going on, but I want you just to play with the blade. Stand your saw up on its battery, and there's a lever across the nose. If you turn that lever all the way, and it's very hard, the blade comes out. Okay, so there's no tool to put it in. Now the blade slides in on that roller, goes all the way in, and shoves in. You can feel a spring in the bottom. As you push it in, there's a spring. If you don't feel the spring, it's not in all the way. And then you stop it. Now, if you do it wrong, and you look at it here, Jessica, there's a good shot for you. You can see how that blade is not lined up with the saw. The blade is not all the way in the chuck. You have to be able to look down the barrel and see that it's actually straight before you go. Because otherwise the blade's just going to pop out, or you're going to have a weirdest cut you ever thought because the saw just runs off on one side as you're going. Okay, so that's the basic thing. You sometimes have a variable speed. I don't, but variable speed is if you need to slow down and control it. If it's jumping in something and it's like running with the saw, you need to go faster. If you go a faster speed, then it won't jump because it can't jump that fast. You can't change that much. So if it's really, sometimes you get it and you're in some thin wood and the wood is moving and everything else, kick your speed up higher as you're going. Okay, let's see what we have for the list of things to do. Blades, let's take a look at that. That weird one on the far end is an offset blade. Means you put it in and I can run my nose right up to the wall and it'll cut. You're not going to make a curve at all with that. So if it's going in the wrong direction, it'll stay there. So that gets in there. Now you've got two black ones next to it. They're hard to tell what they are. They are actually only made by Bosch. They're files. They're metal files, a flat one and a round one. And so you can imagine cleaning up a hole or something in a piece of metal that you needed with the files. But so it's going up and down like that very fast. Really great files. Then you got the two ones here, the one long serrated one and the other one next to it. Those are no-teeth knife blades that we're actually going to use a little bit later, the short one on there. But you can imagine that long one is like a kitchen knife. Think what you could do with your steak with that, you know. And so then you get ones for cutting metal. You have one that actually the teeth go in the opposite direction. It cuts on the downstroke. Every other blade cuts on the upstroke. And we're going to be using that one for melamine. You'll see that different. It used to be a hard to get blade, and now it's included in all the sets. But it's hard to find by itself. Now you've got one particular one here. It's got a big point on the end, like a fang out there. That's for plunge cutting. Because if you want to go right into the wood without making a hole, you're in the middle of something, difficult to do with a jigsaw, worse to do with a reciprocal saw. But sometimes that's the only thing you got to do. You can play with that, doing that. If we have time, we'll play with that. Then you got metal saws for hard metal, soft metal, all kinds of possibilities. So most people don't realize there's that many choices, and that's just a sampling out of my shop. Okay, next shot. Practice cutting. I want you to just take a cut. You got a 1x6 in your board. Cut a couple inches off the end. Just sort of see how well you can do, just cutting across, nothing special. Try to make it straight and make it square. And then I want you to take a look at how bad the cut is, okay, or how good it is. Oh yeah, the workmate, the two cranks go together. Use the two cranks at the same time. Okay. You got to turn it off. Is your saw off? Yeah, okay. Now I want you to look at your saw cut and see how proud you are. It may not be all that good. Now, you should have a little white board like this back there. What I want you to do now is take your speed square and check your cut and see what it looks like. Yeah, just slide it off the end like that. Yeah, like that. How'd you do? And then you can put it on the edge and see how straight the edge is. Just put it right on it. And now here's another secret that people don't know. We have in our shops tools like this as squares. Okay, so squares are used in cabinet making all the time to check for square here or square like that. You don't have that. So what are you going to do? Take your speed square, take that little stick, put them together, and I got a square. Okay? People don't realize that they actually have a square that allows you to check on the end of boards, on the edge of a board, or something like that. See, just hold it on the big flat side. No, you got to turn it over. So, yeah, there you go. Yeah. Yeah, like that, you see? And that makes a very accurate square for checking for edges or squareness as you're moving around. Okay? Okay, now let's set up so we can make a better cut than the one you made. What we want to do is take the speed square, and we use the speed square a lot. About 2 inches from the end of your board, take the speed square, lock it. It's got a lip on one side that locks into the board. And we draw the line. Okay? So you draw yourself a nice line. They're still cutting. Okay? Now if everybody can come along and follow me here. Are you with me? We're going to take the saw. We're going to put the saw down to where it's going to want to go into the line. And we're going to run the speed square over to the shoe. That's how you measure. I don't want to take my tape measure out and mark and measure, and that's garbage. You'll always get it wrong. But if you slide this over like that, now you use it and firmly grab this so it can't slide. You're going to hold that in place. Okay? And then with the saw, we're going to just come up. Now watch me just make the cut. Hold on a minute and watch me make the cut here. Flat shoe. Now I want you to look at a couple of things. Shoe flat to the table. Arm in line with the saw. Not over here. You do this, everything goes crooked. Arm is in line with the saw, and I move my body as much as my arm so that I basically keep my weight and everything else in control. The more you do that, the more you run out of control. You know, or if you try to cut along like this, it's really hard. If you can line up with it, you can't always do that, but if you can line up with it, you get behind it and you get a straight cut. Now this time, make a cut that's good enough for the judges. Now, one of the objectives is to not cut off the workmate. When I first started on television, Black & Decker was a sponsor, and we recorded the show. And so I was new to television. I was much younger in those days, 1978, okay, long time ago. And I took the circular saw and I made a beautiful cut across the board. And then the camera stopped, everybody stopped, and I said, "What's wrong? I did a beautiful cut." And they said, "Well, we had a camera underneath and we could see you cutting the workmate in half." Okay. What's my next slide? Okay, so we did the checking, making a leg. Go ahead, next one. Okay, that's where we just did. Next. Okay, we're going to go off to the plywood. So, we want to pop out the board, take out the dogs. The dogs are these clamps on the top. You have a piece of plywood at your station. Okay, if you follow my setup, you just, where there's a curve in your plywood, put the curve out so that you can see it on your work side, on the one side or the other. Get some clamps to hold it into place. Okay, you're all clamped up. Now you got to have room with all your clamps. Are you going to be able to swing your saw around? Okay, clamp down your board with the curve, the little curve on the end of the board we're going to cut out. You need that hanging off the edge. This is also a lesson on how to use clamps. Now, one of the team members is going to make the first cut halfway around the circle, and the other one's going to make the other cut with a different blade. Okay, we're going to switch blades. Okay, so one of you, I'll give you the difficult job. It's possible but difficult, is to use the blade you got. Okay, that's to start with. Everybody clamped in? No? Okay, now understand, you got this little curve on the end, little half cup there. Looks like this. If you can see this on my table, this curve here. And you got it out so you're not going to cut the workmate in half and all that. Good. Okay. Now, the first person is going to go just halfway around the circle like this. Now notice I'm backing off, going at it again. And notice I don't lift it up before I stop it. Because if I lift it up while it's going, bang, it bangs into the wood, breaks the blends, the blade, or something else. Now notice I went forward. Now we would like to leave the line a little bit so the judges can see it, but it'll probably disappear. But as you're going through, it doesn't want to follow you, so you have to back up a little and go again, back up a little and go again, do it easily, just stop, and then we're going to change the blade and have your partner do the other half with a better blade. Okay, those of you who are done, we want to change the blade. You want to get the little tiny scroll blade. Little thin, skinny one. So we pop that out. We put in the other one, make sure it's straight. Okay. So now you get the little skinny blade in there. You got a scroll blade? You'll see a little skinny blade. You see the difference in my two blades here? So one of your blades is a scroll blade. You're going to put the scroll blade in. You got it? Everybody? No, they're still cutting over there. You got the scroll blade in? Go ahead and cut it. And we'll have the judges come down and check you out right away. Okay, pull out your plywood when it's finished so the judges can see it, but we're going to pick up a piece of melamine. When you're done, get a couple of dogs to tie it down. One there, one here. Doesn't want to go down. One here. And we can hold that down. Okay, put in the melamine. A couple of dogs like that, if you can see how I've got it set up there. Okay, get the melamine, stick it out the edge a little bit, and draw two straight lines on it, not very far. We're not even going to cut them off. I just want to show you these blades because we've got to show a couple of interesting blades. We're going to move on to the other saw. You've got the scroll blade in there right now, right? The little scroll one, which is a fairly fine cutting blade. Got the little fine one still in the saw? Yeah. Okay, let's use that. We're going to make two cuts with two different blades and see the difference. So one of you is going to just take the scroll blade, draw two little lines on the end. Okay, just straight lines to follow. We don't want to cut the board off because we want to see the cut. Alex, you want to go help them set up in the back there? Okay, while we're waiting for that to get set up, I got a question for you. You ever need to cut leather? Like rawhide? Caribou hide or something? No? How about vinyl flooring? Yeah, you clipping it with little clippers? I got a blade for you. I got a blade for you. Okay, the scroll blade was kind of easy to get around that curve, huh? A lot easier than the other one. It's a flimsy blade and it's easy to make it go skew. So you have to, because if you push sideways, now you can see right here, the blade bends if you push sideways. So you have to, that's why I keep pushing. You have to be behind the blade, even if you're going in a circle. Keep your arm, don't get your arm out like this trying to do a circle. Keep your arm like that, even though you got to stretch over. And that'll help to keep the push behind the blade. Okay, you all set up there? Two little lines. Okay, one of you, you're going to take one of those lines and just cut easily up to where it stops with the regular blade that you got. Okay? Go. Okay, it makes a lot of chipping, doesn't it? So now you're going to change the blade, and I have your blade. You have to wait a minute because we only had 5 blades. So I'll give this to you in just a minute. So you got that first cut, pretty lousy, not good for a kitchen countertop that's going to be exposed or finishing off. Okay, now you look on your blades, you'll see one that says down cut, and you look, the teeth are pointing in the opposite direction. The teeth are the opposite of every other jigsaw blade on the market. We're going to put in the down cut blade, and I'll help you in just a minute. You guys are fast anyway. And then you're going to make the same cut on the second line. Now, as I'm working, I realize a couple things I do. I have my finger up here, and it's not really to hold anything down. It's to remind me that I'm floating like this, to keep the shoe flat, and I can feel it with my fingers. So the finger's doing more about just following and telling me, hey, flatten out, instead of letting it ride. Because you ride, you don't control as you're coming down. So let me pump off this blade that you guys are going to need. Okay, we're all done? You see the difference in that? You see it makes a big difference getting the right blade, particularly in a plastic laminate or a fine wood laminate, anything careful you want to change. Now what we want to do is change to a blade that has no teeth at all. It's a saw edge, it's a knife edge. You see, people wonder, what the heck is it? I'm going to buy this? By the fact, if you can't find a knife blade and you want to make one, you take any jigsaw blade and grind off the teeth and turn it into a knife. There's a piece of linoleum under your bench, And if you want to clamp it in the way I've clamped in mine here, so that the part of the line there is hanging out. And Alex, you want to come up to help me? Well, get them set up. Get them set up. So you pull the dogs out, you move the table up front. Working with a workmate is a lot about playing with those adjustments, but it's really useful. Okay. Go ahead. Just set it in there so that that line is hanging out. Yeah, we're going to do the same thing. Yeah, it's got it. So what we need to be able to do is pull it like that to give it some tension. Okay? Yeah, that's good. Okay, now you switch blades, so you got the knife blade in there. How are we set? Are we set back there? You got a knife blade in your saw? The blade with a knife? Alex, you want to help back out there? Now, while we're waiting for this to get ready to go, we want to run the slides forward. I'm going to show you a couple things just while we're waiting. Go further. Go further. Oh, yeah, we want to do that one. Oh, we'll do that after this. I'm jumping around. Okay. Okay, you ready? Alex, I need you. Oh, he's getting the blade in. Okay, any hard material that the teeth, like cloth, canvas, the teeth just mess it up. It pulls out all the threads. And if you have leather or anything else, here I just got some vinyl. Alex is going to put some tension on this. If you pull that, you can see by the overhead. In fact, I'll go to the other side so we can get it on the overhead camera, I think, right? Does that pick up? There we go. Okay. So what we're going to do is you have to have tension on that, or else it's not going to work. You can do that as slow and as perfect as you like. There's no dust. There's no problem with it. And the blades cut foam insulation as well. And then you can get them bigger. The other blade that I have that does the same job, let's see, I've got it here. Here's another knife blade. It's that big. Okay, and so there are lots of possibilities. So cut your pieces. Try to follow the line. Okay, that one's pretty easy. Got it? Now, on the slideshow, let's put up slideshow here. Go to the next slide. We were gonna cut this, but we're running out of time, and I got other things I want you to cut, so I'm gonna just follow me on this. If you want to be quiet for a minute and follow me on this, because this could be real useful for you. You want to cut out a notch. This is maybe a 2x4, and this is a flooring piece, and it's got to go in and be square. How do you do the square? Well, one way is drill a hole so that we can get the blade in to go in the other direction. That works, but there's always a lot of messing around. So how do we do it here? There's two ways to waltz that hole. One is this one here. Go to the next slide. You see the first cut is straight into the corner. Next slide. Second cut follows the curve over to the other corner. So it's an arbitrary curve just to level out flat. Then the next cut comes back and off to the corner. And then that drops it right out. So next slide. And then, well, I wanted you to stop there, but we're not going to do it. Next slide. So you see it's up, around to the corner, and back to the corner. Both corners are square without messing around. The other way is the next slide, is that we go up, next slide, and then we come back, and we go up again from about halfway. And we come back, and you notice, go again, next slide. And notice that I'm cutting a little bit more every time. Next slide. It takes about 5 cuts. Next slide. Now you've widened it enough that I can turn my saw around in the other direction. Now next cut, that lets me go off to the corner. And so you can do that quickly without having to get your drill out and punch a hole, going back and forth. Okay, next slide. We're not judging. Next. Okay, scroll for tight curves. Well, we did a scrolling a little bit, so we'll leave that be. And go to the next one. Next slide. This is the down cutting blades. You can see them clearly there that we just did that. So we got that done. Next slide. Next slide, please. Okay, and this, you see the big difference in the vinyl or the saw blades. Next slide. Now I just wanted to point this out. If you want to do a plunge cut, which is that we're going to take the saw and actually plunge into the wood. Difficult to do, doesn't always work, breaks blades, but you do it with a blade that has a tooth on the end. There's a hook out there on the end. And with that hook, it's more successful. Without that hook, it's a dull bit out on the end, trying to pound its way through the wood. Okay? Next slide. And if you've got to come up to a wall, the jigsaw doesn't make it. The flush cut blade does, because it reaches out in front. Next slide. There's soft metal blades, hard metal blades, ceramic tile blades, so you can do lots with the jigsaw. We're moving on to, I'm going to push the time because I want to, next slide. Reciprocating saws are the big monsters. And that I want you to all put in a 4x4 like that in your table. That was the way it started. There was the jigsaw, and then there was a jump to the reciprocating saws. Over time, the reciprocating saws got smaller and smaller. And that's almost replacing the jigsaw in a lot of things. With the small handheld ones, we can actually do duct work and things like that. So they have little tiny blades that fit all those 3 machines. And so reciprocating saw, they're all reciprocating saws. Some of them are just pruning blades. You can go out and do a tree with one hand, things like that. So what we're going to do, I want you to, on the 4x4 that you have, I want you to take one end. You should have a mark someplace that goes all the way around the board. I don't want you to cut that mark. I do not want to cut that yet, so leave that alone. But you found it? Leave it there. Leave it there. And I want you just to freehand cut off the 4x4 as clean and smooth as you can. Square, straight. Do what you're accomplish. Now, before, I should give you a little bit of instruction so you don't kill yourself. You don't stand in front of the blade, and you don't use a blade next to your partner like that. The one key with this tool in particular, same with the jigsaw, but it's even more important here, you never get off the shoe. So the one thing you do not do is use it like a handsaw to try to clear dust. Clearing dust like that only invites you to hit the end of the blade into the thing and bend your blade. Okay? The way you do it is you come down. I think you can see this on the overhead shot. Yeah. As you're coming down, you rock it. The shoe stays in contact, but you rock, and that cleans the dust by rocking up and down as you're coming, as opposed to stroking. Stroking, you lose control. Rocking works. Same thing, by the way, with a chainsaw. You never pull a chainsaw back. I've seen people that are working harder than the chain is by going back and forth with a chainsaw. You lock in your shoe and keep your shoe in contact. Okay, cut that off and see how clean a cut you can make. Go. No mark, no mark. And don't cut off the mark that's there. Okay, you're starting to feel a little bit of the control problems. Now yours is giving you, okay, now it's jumping on you because you're not going fast enough. Give it more speed. Get it in the slot, get in the slot. Now give it speed. Now you're off, your shoe's not touching. There you go. Now, faster. See how easy it is. Now check out how square or not square it is. Remember, you can always check the square using your speed square and that little stick. If you put the speed square and the stick together, you can check. Yeah, that's not going to be square. Okay. Now, as soon as you've done that, I want you to move your saw out. The previous contest drew a line around your board, and there's a line drawn all the way around. Did you cut it off? You cut it off? Okay, we'll make another one. I'll do you a line real quick out here. So you want to set it up with that little line hanging out. That's the trick that we learned in the first Builder's Challenge, is to use this lip to line it up over here. And we come up pretty close to the line. Okay. Get it set up in there, and now I'm going to walk you through on the screen, and then you're going to do it. We're out of time, but we're going to do this anyway. I'm going to do this and one more if you'll let me. Okay? So don't saw. Okay. Now watch this step by step. What we're going to do here, go ahead. Oh, first of all, blades. There's a wide variety of blades for this like the other ones, including tiny ones, one just for drywall, one for scraping glue off the floor. People don't realize this tool can do that kind of stuff. Next slide. We've been through that. Getting square, so just to see how square you can get. Now there's an easier way. What you're going to do is there's the line we want to cut. It's marked all the way around your board. And this may be a post standing up out in the field, and you want to cut it off square at different height, okay? What you just found out is if you slice all the way through, nothing stays square. The blade drifts and moves away. It always drifts. The best worker, it drifts. Okay, it's not your fault. It's that wide blade out there doing that stuff. So what we're going to do, next step, is we're going to start. The shoe is in contact. That's important. But I'm starting on the opposite side of the wood. I'm starting over there, not over here. Because if I start here, all of this blade is moving around. If I start here, I can control that moving into a tiny slot. Then we're going to bring it down. Next slide. Then you see, and I'm only coming down and going a little bit into the wood, just enough to make a nice scar. And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to rotate my wood. So next slide. The wood has been rotated, so I take the mark that was left from the last cut as my starting point for this cut. Because I can't control this end, so I use the slot to control it, but I can control this end. Okay? And I walk all the way around. Now, next slide is we keep doing that all the way around. In fact, it usually takes 2.5 tours before you cut through the middle. But if you bother to go just a half inch, half inch, half inch, half inch, so you come back another half inch, it's easy to cut through, but it won't be square. But the slot that we've created is helping to control the blade on both ends. And so by the time we go approximately 2 times around, you'll find it falls off. Okay, and then you look at the end, and then you've got a square end. Okay, so that's what we're going to try to do. I'll show it to you here quickly so you can see. I've got it here, I'm in tight here, and I've off the wood, and I'm going to get this started. Okay. It wants to go all over. I'm taking it easy. Okay, I got to start. Stop. Rotate the wood. And as I rotate the wood, you see now I have on the top a slot already. So I can put the blade right in that slot. To start with, it's going to be right in there already. I don't have to jump around, and I come down. Okay, that's the job. Go. Oh, shit. There it is. Keep going. No, you're not on a shoe. Your shoe is not sitting on the wood. The shoe is important. And if it's jumping, you're not going fast enough. Okay? If it's jumping too much, you got to go faster. Pull the trigger more. No, push up. No. Stay with me. Stay with me. Come on, stay with me. You want to push forward. Push forward. Push forward. Okay, now let's try the same thing a little faster. You'll see you have better control.
Yeah.
Now you want to pop it up and roll it around. Okay, you should probably be about ready to go through there, I think. And you see they're coming together nicely.
Yeah.
No, the opposite end. No, your shoe against the wood. Yes, the shoe has to touch. Regardless, look at it's not even touching. You got it.
Yeah. Look at that.
Yeah. Okay. That's pretty amazing compared to your first cut, isn't it? just by using the guide. I hope you're impressed with that by using the guide. Now we're out of time, but I'm going to do one more, and you can join me if you want to. If you look at this guy, and if we can get the overhead camera, okay, imagine this is the windowsill. That's a rotten old windowsill, and we want to cut out this piece of wood that's bound in by the sides of the window or any other structure. It's a stuck piece of wood that we got to get rid of. So how are we going to cut that out efficiently? So the first thing, I don't want you cutting this yet until you see more, but I'm going to make what typically is the cut that's made. Let's try cranking this down a little bit tighter. I'm getting a lot of pressure on it because it's cutting me loose, okay? And everything's trying to move. I'm cut through. I've even cut into the bottom, which I'd rather not do, okay? But let's just see how that comes up. And I think you'll see that there's no way in the world that I'm going to get this piece out of there because you're trying to come up. It's bound still, okay? And that's always so. And then everybody gives up and makes a second cut and starts and working and working and working. So instead of that, what we want to do, I have a second one here, yeah. You pardon my very rough windowsills. It was made in a hotel last night with a jigsaw. Okay, what we're going to do here is different. We're going to come down at some angle. It's not too important. Maybe as much as 45 degrees, like that. Instead of straight down. Straight down, it still was stuck. If we come down at an angle like this, number one, the saw blade doesn't bind. Am I through? Here I am. The saw blade doesn't bind because even if it's squeezing, it can move up. Number two, it's ready to move even though there are screws and nails holding it because it's free from the other side. So my screw is holding in there well. There we go. So now we can force that up enough that you could begin. Now if this was a real window that was wider, that would just lift right up because there's no resistance except for the screws on the end. And then you can pop the other side up. You got the leverage. But you got to do the angle cut, not the straight cut. And that allows you to do an angle cut that stops and doesn't do any damage to the piece below. So if you want to, make that cut and the show's over. Clamp it down tight. It's got to be really clamped in there. So you can see how much easier it is. Now there's a screw holding it, so it doesn't want to come up, but you can see that that's liberated it. So it's possible to break it loose. Just a little angle. It's all it takes to make the difference. Okay, I hope that's teased you into a lot of different blades. I want to just roll the slideshow a bit here. Go ahead. There's the rough cut-in blade. I want to show the blade to you. We don't have time to do it, but we have a special blade that is now available for the rip saw that if you're cutting 6-inch ventilation ducts, this narrow little blade actually fits into a 3/8-inch hole and can go right through any sort of structural member that you want. And you can get a rough, what they call it, the rough end blade. But no other blade will make that curve. So that's useful. If you want to cut off a piece of wood that's sitting on a floor, like a sill plate of a wall. There's a flush cut blade. And the flush cut blade comes down like this, is up high enough that the saw doesn't butt into the wall. And there's two places where there's no teeth, so that when you get to the floor, it won't cut. So it's a concrete floor or wooden floor. You don't destroy your blade, you don't destroy the floor. But you can cut this thing right down flush without a problem. And without the saw getting in the way because it's raised up so high as you come in. And next slide. We have some other blades. That's the flush cut blade working there. This is a knife blade with no teeth. It's used for wool or for bat insulation and foam. And so you take bat insulation, you just slice it. If you really want to, you can cut caribou with it in the kitchen. It's like a hyped up butcher knife. Okay. Okay, next. That hook out there for a plunging blade. But I don't like plunging with this saw. It's out there wobbling like this. It's a tough, tough job to do. Yeah, you need as short a blade as possible and a hook on the end to help you out. And then next, there's spatulas for cutting glue off the floor. You just put your saw sideways and scrape it along. Okay, I think that's the last one. Yeah. So I hope that's teased you into tremendous number of blades and things you can do with both the jigsaw and the reciprocating saw. Reciprocating saw, realize that there are a variety of choices. If you're not into heavy-duty destruction demolition, you probably want the smaller reciprocating saws. If you need the muscle, then you need that for that. Yes?
Can I keep the blades?
No. Some of the blades are going to be given away tomorrow at the end of the show. I know you do. That's why we have a policeman right behind you. And 3 guards at the door. They already have jail suits on. So I hope that's really helped you with some understanding, rushed as it was, to understanding these two tools much better. We got a winner? Which booth wins?
Yes, the first prize goes to team number 1.
Team number 1. Team number 1, you win. Thank you very much. And if you have ideas about what you want for next year's show, let us know at the show. Whatever you think you would love to have us put together so that we can teach it.